It is Hell in a Cell week, and it's time to hear what you, the listeners, think about what's going on in WWE with just a few short days until the pay-per-view. I'm really interested to hear what you guys are thinking about the return of Samoa Joe, where they have Roman Reigns positioned with Rey Mysterio, Bobby Lashley, and Drew. So I haven't listened to any of the voicemails yet. You're going to hear them when I do. Let's get everything started right after this.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am one-third of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
Well, it is time to get to that mailbag. It's time to hear what you guys think about what's going on. You've heard from me all week. It's time to hear from the most important part of this show, and that's the listener, because trust me, this show would not exist without you. It really would not. I would be talking to myself in my empty little office here, and it would be a sad state of affairs. I mean, it would be pathetic. So thank you guys for giving my life meaning and not being pathetic. And it's time to give you a voice. So we're going to do that tonight. First, I want to give a shout out to the latest patron of our show, and he is Roger Durrett. Hope I pronounced that correctly. So Roger, thank you for your support. Enjoy everything ad-free. Also, join us on the Discord server. I sent you a little message for our little VIP private server that we got going on, which is one of the benefits, not just ad-free stuff, guys, but we have a little VIP chat area that I set up every pay-per-view, and all the patrons get together, and obviously by choice, they don't have to, but it is available to the patrons to come on in and we chat throughout the show. I still post stuff on Twitter, but it's a much more interactive environment, and it's very intimate. You know, you're only connecting with wrestling fans, whereas Twitter, you never know what you're going to get, right? So just one of the other things to think about when you're looking at Patreon. So thank you, Roger, so much. And let's continue on here, because it's time for that beautiful mailbag. And as always, we give our patrons priority placement in the show. So let's do that. I'll first look at the messages on Patreon. I know we sometimes have patrons email me, but look at the messages, the direct messages here on Patreon. And our first message comes to us from Scott. And Scott McCabe, who writes in. So, how you doing, Scott? He says, one quick thing for the mailbag. I'm disappointed in Raw at the moment. Same bookings and dodgy finishers, i.e. countouts and roll-ups. Eva Marie's return was dreadful. Booked exactly the same as last time she was in WWE, avoiding matches. Okay, first week she may have locked up with Naomi next week. Piper Niven was a bonus. She is new and fresh and looks like a powerhouse. As an NXT UK watcher, she has got it to challenge the big guns. Just a shame the commentary didn't know who she was. Bit sad, really. Just say it's Piper Niven from NXT. Last point, what did you think of William Regal's resignation from NXT on the In Your House show? Keep up the good work, Scott in the UK. Thank you so much, Scott. So here's the thing. I admittedly didn't know who Piper was. Why? Because I have an excellent NXT host that covers NXT, and I do not. and I want to make this clear. I have all the respect in the world. I think NXT has a wealth of talent. I always say this, and it's true. I'm not just being a cop out. I don't have the time. But I have too much happening, and this show takes up my free time that I do have. So I just simply don't have the time. So I was in that sad category of not knowing who she was. Yeah, so I know. How about that? The host of the WWE podcast didn't recognize somebody from NXT. So how about that? That said, I agree. The commentators should have not said, "Who's this?" You're right. They should have given her a name. They should have given her the respect that she deserves coming from NXT, and not just, wait, what? They worked there. They should know. Shame on WWE for not telling us who she is. And I know that maybe, it should be Eva Marie the one to tell. Well, no, it shouldn't, because the announcers should at least have the basic knowledge to know who their performers in the company are. They shouldn't act dumb, right? If you're being the voice of a multi-billion-dollar company and you're speaking to millions of people every week, you should have the knowledge of basics. So I agree. As far as William Regal's resignation, well, Samoa Joe, I know, debuted, and we'll get into that, I'm sure, a little bit more, but I'm a little bit surprised. Again, I don't watch the NXT product as closely as I should. I generally know what's going on, but I think from what I've seen, NXT has done really well, or William Regal has done very well in NXT in that in the GM role. So I'm a bit surprised, but I think they feel that it's time for a shakeup. And I don't know if they're going to get that from Samoa Joe or others. I don't know if Samoa Joe is going to come back in ring. We'll see. But I think it's really a message. They're all about sending messages all the time. They're sending a message to fans. It's time to shake things up a bit and not be stagnant. So thank you, Scott, for your support and your email, taking the time to write in here. All right, let's get in here. Let's go here. I have one from Randy. Randy DeMonico. Randy writes in, and your winner is Eva Marie. Definitely didn't expect it, but I liked it. They didn't make Eva Marie fight Naomi. Now it's safe to say she is a heel. So here I am minding my business and listening to you and the casual wrestling fan, and he goes and says Alexa Bliss has one to cut. How dare you, LMAO. I did like you guys until that. Now that you went there, it's Sasha, Bianca, and Charlotte for me. Anyway, great to have him back on. Fun as always. I agree. So question I have for you and casual wrestling fan, out of this year's cuts, who are the three, if you had a chance to bring back from their contract? Yours are Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, and Buddy Murphy. So first of all, a question. I would say Aleister Black. I agree. I'm in agreement with that. Braun Strowman, believe it or not, because I think they're gonna rue the day that they got rid of Braun. I think they will. I think that they had a lot more to get out of him, and I think, well, they obviously felt differently. And I think the third one would be Zelina Vega. I think she was sorely underutilized in WWE, and I think they didn't give her a fair shake. So Zelina Vega, Aleister Black, and Braun Strowman would be my picks, I should say. Lastly, a what if that you can maybe do. What if WrestleMania was never created? What if NXT never existed? Thanks, Matt. Have a good one. Good topics. I like them. What if WrestleMania was never created? What if NXT never existed? Those are good topics, my friend. Stay tuned. I'll pose that to Anthony and see what his thoughts are on that. I like it. We got some smart patrons, I got to say. Okay, let's get on to our next patron here. And this one comes to us from Kyle. And we got Kyle writing into the show. And he wants my opinion, Kyle Smithers, wants my opinion about an article he sent me. And this article, which is from SEScoops.com, so credit where credit is due. Your opinion on this, and I'll give you guys the context, but Kyle's opinion on this is that he thinks it's going to lead to a ridiculous reason for bouts. The article that he sent me was and again, this is from SE Scoops, which I would, tend to believe is a credible news site. I don't really frequent this site typically. Typically it's, the other ones we know about, but I believe you. So Vince McMahon has recently put in to the WWE rules, and assuming that means creative, that every match shown on television needs to have a reason for being, and there will be no more cold matches. Nothing will occur just for the sake of seeing two wrestlers compete head to head. I quoted there. So, besides this past week with AJ Styles versus Drew McIntyre, that made absolutely no sense. And again, I don't know the reason for being on that one. So maybe this was following Raw, I would think, because we never got an explanation how Drew and AJ ended up in the match. So yes, that's a cold match, Vince. So I don't know when he decided this, but we have an example, a high profile one this past Monday. So the other thing that's kind of scary to me, shouldn't this go without saying? Shouldn't this just basic fundamental rule of pro wrestling go without saying that there should be a reason for matches when they occur? Isn't that what generates the interest to begin with? I don't think anybody enjoys cold matches. Nobody wants to see two individuals battling it out, and then when someone says, why are they fighting? And the person says, I don't know. You talk about interest going down the drain. So the fact that he has to make this a rule is scary in and of itself, because it shouldn't have to be something that's there. It's implied there needs to be a reason. Oh, that is scary, guys. I would venture to guess that this rule will not last long, just as all rules that they implement do not last. Example, the draft rules. People need to stay on their brands. Quarterly invitationals, wildcard rules. Things change constantly. I very much doubt this rule will make it past a month, and we'll start seeing cold matches. So, again, the biggest problem I have is not that Vince made this rule. It's that he had to make a statement about it, that he actually had to vocalize this as a thing that needs to happen when it should already be happening because, it's pro wrestling and we need a story. Oh, boy. Straight up scary, guys. Straight scary. Okay. Thanks, Kyle, for your insight on that. Those are my thoughts on what's going on there. Okay. I don't think I missed anybody on Patreon other than, of course, we have Amanda Jen, who writes in. She emails me and says, do you think Becky Lynch will return as a babyface or a heel? I personally would like to see her return as a heel, but I have a feeling she will return as a babyface. That's your point. I think babyface goes without question. Who would I like to see her return as, though? Heel. I'd like to see her return as heel, but I absolutely understand the need. It's a need to return as a babyface. WWE is so heel heavy on all fronts, it's not even funny. They have a heel versus heel match on Sunday against Rhea and Charlotte. Who's the biggest babyface female on Raw? Somebody tell me. Nikki Cross? And how are we supposed to enjoy her character again? Because she's just bubbly and funny and no one's scared of her anymore and she wins matches by lady luck? So I would agree, though, that she returns as a babyface simply out of need. And I think the fans would embrace the hell out of her. I really do. It's been a long time. But Becky Lynch as a heel, there's money in that too. I just think it's going to be a while after her return, which I've always predicted around SummerSlam. I've been doing that for like 6 months now. I think that eventually she will turn heel and there's money there. But for the time being, probably for at least a year, we're going to see a babyface Becky Lynch. Simply because the company just flat out needs baby faces so badly. Okay, your second point. I know last week you mentioned about the pay-per-view schedule and when the Money in the Bank pay-per-view will be since they switched Hell in a Cell. CBS Sports has the listing of the pay-per-views, and according to their website, Money in the Bank is set for July 18th. So I double-checked this, and it does indeed look like that is true. I do see that is the date, and I understand also why they did it. Hell in a Cell isn't as exciting of a pay-per-view as Money in the Bank. To me, it should be the opposite, given what Hell in a Cell should have meant. And by the way, guys, I just dropped a Wrestling Nostalgia on Patreon, exclusive to Patreon now. No more, Wrestling Nostalgia is not a part of this feed anymore. It's exclusive to the show, or exclusive to the members. But I just dropped one of 97, the very first Hell in a Cell, 1997, Bad Blood, Taker, HBK. And yes, you may have heard me cover it before, but I think I added more context this time. I added more beautiful audio from the actual event. So head on over there if you're interested in hearing it. But my point is, the fact that Hell in a Cell, they're deeming is not as exciting as Money in the Bank, says something about what they've done to the cell. So yeah, you're right. I would agree. Your third point. Have you heard anything regarding the release date for WWE 2K22? They had a pretty cool commercial during this year's WrestleMania, but it's been silenced ever since then. So I'm Googling this as I speak, and I want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date info as well about when this could be released. And it's set up. Oh, okay, here we go. It looks like the release date is October 19th, 2021. And this is, again, if you're looking at my source, are you hearing that? Well, I'm seeing this from, it's a site called realsport101.com. So that's where I'm seeing it. And, I would think that October is a safe place to end, to really drop your video game. That's typically when they've released it anyway, is October. And boy, oh boy, again, I haven't really ever covered video games before on this show, wrestling video games, because I don't know who plays video games, who hates them, especially wrestling video games. WWE 2K20 left a massive bad taste, like a really bad taste in most people's mouths. WWE 2K21 didn't exist. They took 2 years to develop the second video game, or the next video game. And they better get it right with 2K22. Let me just say that right now. That 2K22 better be badass. And it better be a 8 out of 10 minimum. I also wonder if 2K22 is going to come out on the new consoles, PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox. I do wonder. You would think, given that they've been out for a little while now, that they would have made it for all systems, meaning PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the two Xboxes. We'll see, but that looks like it's the release date. And I tend to believe that October would be, the October 19th is about right. I remember waiting in line and pre-ordering, and they'd be sold out, and I'd go to like GameStop early. Oh man, those are the days, right? With SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown versus Raw 2000, there was just SmackDown versus Raw that came out in 05. Then there was SmackDown versus Raw 06, 07, 08, 09, and then 10, 11, and then it became WWE 12. I think SmackDown versus Raw 2011 was the final iteration. And then it went to WWE 12, 13, 14, 15. All right. Well, anyway, see, I'm diving into video games. Way past your question, Amanda. But yes, that's what I've now heard, and I just looked it up. Your next point. There was an article released yesterday stating Lana is ready to, quote, spill the tea on her time with WWE and Vince McMahon. She must have forgotten all the ways WWE was trying to silence or will try to silence someone. Yeah, I could see that happening. I would really argue against and go against anyone trying to decimate WWE in a podcast or an interview, especially if you just recently left. Why? Because it looks terrible to your next employer. If Lana is indeed trying to get back into, say, AEW and join her husband there, then I don't think it's a good look if you go on a podcast and trash your previous employer. It's just not what you do, right? It's one of the rules in an interview. You don't go in and talk about how crappy your last job was and how bad everybody was and your manager was, awful. That's not what you do. So she could spill the tea, and I'm sure it'll create some buzz, but she's really only shooting herself in the foot and getting her 15 minutes of fame. And then everyone else who may have employed her goes, well, do we want someone like that on our team that does that? She needs to be careful. That's why you didn't see a whole lot other than, from Braun, other than, it's a next chapter, it's a new chapter. I'm sure they wanted to and could bury the company, but they'd be burying themselves in the process. You got to be careful. And you sent me a link. If I just kept reading on, like a normal person, you sent me a link to the NewYorkPost.com. And the title of this article is ex-WWE star Lana to, quote, spill the tea on Vince McMahon after being, quote, silenced. Oh, boy. Okay, I missed this. Oh, God. So here's part of the article. I'll read it to those of you who haven't seen it. Former WWE star Lana threatened to, quote, spill the tea on WWE chairman and CEO Vince McMahon's company after being, quote, silenced for years. The Ravishing Russian was one of 6 wrestlers recently released by the billionaire. She was axed along with Strowman. They list the wrestlers who were left or who were fired. The news comes after a year after her husband, Rusev, now called Miro, who was a TNT champion in rival promotion AEW, was also let go. Now, Lana has spoken to her fans on Instagram about her exit, and she promised that she'll be opening up about her time in WWE, including, quote, standing up and speaking out on things that, for years, she's been silent about. I can't wait to spill the tea because it's hot and delicious. I look forward to standing up and speaking out on things that for years I've been silent about. Oh, boy. Okay, so I'll finish out the article. It's really not that long. Lana also mentioned how she cried after her release while her husband did cartwheels when he was released 12 months ago. Fans will now eagerly be awaiting the moment Lana lets loose on WWE, as she suggested, and has had a number of negative stories she wants to, quote, whistleblow on. It's a little, this is a quote, it's a little bit of freedom that I can be the face that I want to be. I can stand up for freedom. I can stand up for the truth. I can speak up for things that people exploited, and a lot of things, she added. End quote. Wow. Well, again, I guess it still does not change my original statement. She needs to be careful. She needs to be very careful. And the reason is not just because of her employer, but because if she says anything slanderous, she may find herself in a lawsuit. I mean, she could find herself in legal trouble if she says the wrong things. And look, I'm all for speaking up when you see something wrong. I'm not saying she should just shut up and move on. If something bad happened to her, if something illegal happened to her, say, sexual harassment, right? If she was sexually harassed by Vince McMahon or any of the talent, and the management told her to just be quiet about it and just basically shove it under the rug and ignore it, then she should have gone to the police, right? Like, that's where you go. You don't just wait until you're released and then try to get your 15 minutes of fame by telling all these things you should have told police if you were that concerned. Again, we don't know what, quote, tea she's going to spill. I don't know why she didn't say spill the beans. Is spill the tea a thing? I guess. So I would be careful if I was Lana. Again, I'm all for, if, something happens, certainly speak up. If you see something illegal, speak up. Talk to the people that can actually help you. Right? Don't do this thing where you use it as a tool to get yourself ahead and get attention on yourself. And I'm thinking maybe, again, we have no idea what the context is. But if this is all for really publicity, and we'll find out very quickly based on what she says, then shame on her. Because if she comes out and she says all these things that try to make her the victim, right? If she comes out and it sounds like she is going to come out and have this victim mentality of woe is me. Look at everything that happened to me. I was told this and that. I was basically told to shut up about this and that, turn a blind eye to this. Then maybe you should have spoken up while you were there if you saw something that was illegal. Now, if it's not illegal, it's just immoral, then yeah, I mean, I understand that you can't go to the police over something that's immoral, because if it's not illegal, they don't care. Maybe if you say, well, if I speak up, I'll get fired. Well, yeah, that's probably the case. You might, but with retaliation and that kind of thing. But I'm sure HR has a policy in place for that. And then if they do fire you out of retaliation, then you have a lawsuit on your hands, and you could win that lawsuit and win lots of money, or get lots of money. I shouldn't say you win, right? But it's not a game show. So I have my suspicions that if things are as serious as she's trying to make it out to be, that she's just trying to monetize these stories, which probably have validity. I'm not saying what she's saying is going to, we don't even know what she's going to say, but assumingly it's not good stuff with WWE, that there's no validity to it. I'm sure there is, but it's the timing of it that I have a problem with, right? The timing. That is the problem that I would have if she's clearly using it to just further her career, rather than if it was truly something she didn't like or bothered her or thought was immoral or illegal, that she just kept silent until now. It couldn't have bothered you that much if you're waiting until right now to dump all this information and you didn't go to the police. If it was like, you say you were being sexually harassed, well, then I don't feel bad for you, because, I mean, it's an awful act. I'm not in support of it. I want to make that very clear. But her motives behind it, I'm going to look at very closely whenever she drops this information. I want to look at the reasons for waiting. If it's that serious, you go to the damn police, you get that SOB, file charges, right? If it's that bad, if that's something that happened, but who knows? Maybe it's just creative related. And I want people to know, like, I am not for telling, women, oh, be quiet when just turn a blind eye. No. In fact, I'm the complete opposite. I've just made that argument. I'm the complete opposite. Go to the proper authorities, speak, say what's going on. But I don't like when it's, kept inside or fabricated just for the sake of a victim mentality and ruining someone's life or career. And they wield it as a weapon when it's, may not be true, or have partial truths, or may be true. And then all of a sudden, you're coming out now when you didn't, for how many years you just kept silent about it. Again, we don't know the level of depth that this is going to go to. I'm just speculating about things that she probably dealt with. But thank you, Amanda, for bringing this to our attention. I know some of you out there are thinking, oh, he doesn't believe, he wants or doesn't care if women get abused or whatever. Again, number one, we don't know the context. Number two, I'm questioning her motives just doing this now. If they're as serious as if they're as serious as she's telling us and she's trying to make us believe they are, why are you doing it now? Why'd you wait so long? Right? But we'll see. It's hard to comment without context. It's all speculation. But I want to make it clear too. If it is what I think it is, and it's sexual harassment or something along those lines, by all means, don't keep quiet. Speak up at that moment. Go to the proper authorities and take care of it that way. Don't shield it or shove it under the rug and then bring it out when it's to your advantage to try to further your career, because then your motives are all screwed up to me, instead of, getting the SOB in jail. So, okay, moving on, because I'm going to get on a rant here. So, thank you, Amanda, for seriously sharing that. Now I'm very interested to hear what she has to say. But I'm also a little bit speculative of the timing. So, all right. Your final question is, all I can say about Eva Marie's debut is WTF. It was nice to see some from NXT come up to Raw, but seriously. Yep. I commented this already. I don't get it. I don't. They just have no interest in ever seeing Eva Marie in a ring. It's bad. It's just a regression of the women's division. I'm not a fan. Hope you and the rest of the dads listening have a great Father's Day. Can't wait for that Discord chat this Sunday. Thank you, Amanda. Yes, I can't wait for the Discord chat either. It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to just communicate with you guys in real time as the pay-per-view is going on. And it's more intimate than Twitter, I have to say. All right. By the way, get yourself signed up at Patreon if you want to join. All right. Moving on here. We have, let's see here. How many other emails? Just a couple. We have a couple emails here. And this is from, as we move on from our patrons, Owen South. Owen writes in, says, this is my first time writing into the podcast, however, I felt it necessary after watching another terrible episode of Monday Night Raw. I really don't understand where the brand is going anymore. I'm a fan from the UK, so get the full 3 hours from BT Sport, which used to be a positive compared to the shorter versions of Hulu and other streaming services. But now I only watch a third of each show. Raw is unwatchable in its current state. I understand the creative has been limited with the coronavirus situation. However, surely they can be more creative than constant roll-ups and distractions. This is creating us fans to care less about the show when wins clearly don't mean anything. I really feel like there's no end goal apart from looking as good as they can in a business perspective to eventually get sold, which is a scary thought. Anyway, I'll leave you with this question. Do you think Finn Balor would fit back into Raw to be the main event babyface versus Bobby Lashley and continue their feud from years ago? Because personally, I think he would be perfect. Love the podcast, from Owen. Owen, welcome to the podcast for your first time contributor to the mailbag. So welcome. And Finn Balor, I think he would fit in just fine. He did before. I think he underwent a lot of development in a positive way in NXT, and he's ready to come back. I think he would fit right in. I think WWE is desperate for baby faces on the men and women's side. I think it'd be a nice fit with Bobby, as you know, the size difference would be the story there. And I bet you they wouldn't even bring up their previous feud. And I bet you WWE forgot or just won't do it. But I would. I mean, it makes sense. But as far as them, yeah, I could see it, and maybe getting Bobby Lashley through SummerSlam with Finn if Brock Lesnar is not interested in coming back or won't or whatever. Finn Balor, I think, would be a good replacement, certainly. So good catch on that. And yeah, the creative has been bad on Raw, with the notable few exceptions like RK Bro. It's been bad, and WWE knows that. They even acknowledged it publicly the open of Raw. I mean, just how bad last week's main event was with Lily and Shayna Baszler last week. I mean, it was just bad. They even kept Shayna Baszler off Raw. That's how bad it was. They didn't know what to do with her. I guess just kind of have a pit stop and change her tires and just have her sit tight for the pay-per-view, which is bizarre given it's the go-home show. You think Shayna would want to, build her match.
Stay right there. The WWE podcast will return after this quick break.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am 1/3 of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop into Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.
Welcome back to the WWE podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
I agree. You know, the coronavirus is, it will no longer be a creative crutch that they can lean on in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks' time, guys, the coronavirus excuse, the king of all gaps for bad things happening, and the reason for bad things happening is gone. Fans are back. There's no more excuses. We're heading into SummerSlam season shortly. That goes away. So the coronavirus excuse is gone. So just hang in there, Owen, a couple of more weeks, and perhaps things will start to turn around mid-July as they get back in front of an audience. So, agreed. Yeah, the roll-ups and distractions are just, I mean, it's getting absolutely egregious at this point. It's bad. I agree. Okay, let's see if I have any other emails here. I know I have one from the Casual Wrestling Fan. As you know, he joined me on Sunday night for a 2.5 hour chat. Let's see. I have, it's just a Casual Wrestling Fan as the final email here. So, he writes in, and Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan says, "My name is Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, and I'm a certified G, a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that." And this right here is Big Matt. He's not 7 foot tall. No, I'm not. And you can't teach that. No, you can't. If they could teach you how to be 7 feet tall, trust me, I would have not stopped at 5'6" and 3/4, or 5'7" if I'm wearing shoes. Okay, there's my height. So now I'm really intimidating. Bada boom. Realest guys in the room. How you doing? You gotta love it. I mean, he cuts a promo every time he sends an email in. By the way, guys, seriously, catch our show that we did on Sunday. Absolutely awesome. I want to start off by saying, if you haven't listened to the latest Week in Review, check it out. It was a blast, and we dove real deep into topics, a lot of topics. Thanks for having me on the show. You're welcome, and you'll be on soon. I'll just say that if you're interested. You're always more than welcome, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, to come on whenever you can make time. Certainly. We'd love to have you here. The Miz, she totally agrees with you. She can't stand The Miz and sees no point in keeping him around. This is in reference to Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan wanted to give her 3 superstars that she would fire. We did this little game at the end of the show where he and I gave 3 wrestlers, men and women, that we would still fire even after the cuts. And one of them for me was The Miz, and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan agrees. Sami Zayn was on her list. Really? She doesn't like him? And Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah. You know what? I can actually see Shinsuke, if they're not going to do anything with him, just release him. I don't need him fighting over a pretend Burger King crown. I mean, it's just not good. Sami Zayn, though, that's the one I would only really disagree with. I think Sami Zayn could easily be in the world title picture. And I think he might actually be in the conversation if Roman wasn't doing such a legendary job right now as heel, as the top heel in the company. But unfortunately, with the top heel, you can't have a heel chasing a heel because no one cares. So I think that is kind of stunting the growth of Sami in terms of elevating him in the card. But I love Sami Zayn's promos. I think he's really good in the ring. And I think he's actually kind of funny, which does that really make him a heel, right? Kind of counterintuitive. That's all I got today, except there's only one word to describe you, and I'm going to spell it. I'm going to spell it out for you. SAWFT. Soft. There you go. All right. I just cut a promo against myself. Thank you, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, for giving me the backhanded compliment and then insulting me at the end of the email. It is much appreciated, and I'll see you in the ring, my friend. I'll talk to Adam Pearce. I think you just called me out, so I'll talk to Adam Pearce and see if he can get a match for us this Sunday. Inside the cell, even. How about that? I'll up you one. We're going inside the cell. Okay. I am wrong. We do have one more email, and this is from another avid listener, Mr. DJ Kuzmo, who writes in, and this is the final email before our voicemails. And we don't have a ton of voicemails this week either, so I'm sure next week will be different given the pay-per-view and your response to it. But we have Mr. DJ Kuzmo who writes in, and he says, first and foremost, I enjoyed listening to the Week in Review with you and Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. I actually had to listen back this for the second time after falling asleep late Sunday night into early Monday morning. Oh, God, I love it. I love it. People falling asleep to our voices. I guess listening back, and I listened back to some of the show myself through Apple Podcasts, and I see where people would feel that we have relaxing tones of voice. I get it. So I'll take that as a compliment, DJ, that you fall asleep to us, that we're that interesting, that I guess the tone of our voice just I guess releases dopamine in your brain, and you or tryptophan. Isn't tryptophan the sleepy part, the sleepy drug that is associated with like turkey on Thanksgiving or something? So apparently we trip that in your brain. Fine, I'll take it as a compliment. Hearing different perspectives, fantasy booking matches, and both of your picks of who should get fired from WWE was entertaining. With that being said, I have 3 picks from the men and 3 picks from the women that in the WWE on the main roster who I would fire if I was in charge. Now, again, with that being said, we don't wish these men and women that we mentioned ever get released. I'm just spitballing some fantasy releases. Exactly. Yeah, we're not actually advocating, of course, that these people lose their jobs at all. It's just we're having a little fun. That's all this is. So here is DJ's women's picks for who he would fire. Dana Brooke, agreed. Naomi, agreed. And Carmella. Wow, Carmella. Carmella is the one that I would disagree with only because I know there's more to her character, more to who she is other than just look at my sexy body, right? Other than just, wow, look how curvy I am and look how sexy we know there's more to her than that, but she's been downgraded to that. It's such a shame, and it's such a regression of the women's division as a whole, and they do that kind of stuff, and I'm not a fan. So we have Carmella, who we know can talk. People forget her SmackDown Women's Championship run early in the game, and a couple of years ago. She was really good. And yes, James Ellsworth was a part of it, and things went down after that. But we know she can talk. We know she can go in the ring. She has a presence about her. And unfortunately, again, they've downgraded her to this Neanderthal, just basic male, desires of look at how good look how hot she is. No one cares. I mean, really, nobody cares. That is so superficial. But I wouldn't cut her for that. I would not cut her for that. Naomi and Dana, sure. I mean, they're not doing anything with them anyway. The men's picks: Elias, Kofi Kingston, and the one and only Adam Pearce. Elias, yes, absolutely. Kofi, you know what? Yeah. Why not? Kofi's been around long enough. We know what we have with Kofi. I think he's the worst part of the New Day. I think nature has just run its course with Kofi. Again, great human being, but yeah. And Adam Pearce, I could care less one way or the other. And I don't feel anything for Adam Pearce. Honorable mentions: Byron Saxton. Yes, Byron can go. I'm fine with the new announcer, Jimmy. Was it Jimmy? I can't remember his name. He's from MMA. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the 2-man booth. I don't need Byron as a third wheel, just spitting tropes out about sending messages and just nonsensical garbage. I'm not a Byron Saxton fan. I'll say that. I think he could easily, he would never be missed. I think it would actually add to the broadcast by taking him out of it. I agree. Rey Mysterio after Hell in a Cell. Yeah. Mandy Rose. Yes. Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky. Oh my God. Otis, Angela Dawkins, and Natalya. I really can't argue with any of these. I don't think I would even blink an eye if all 7 were gone. Really. Angela Dawkins, I know, is part of the Street Profits. He's clearly not the star of that group. He is the second, he's second fiddle to the star of Montez Ford, that he is going to be a major, I think he's going to be a major single star when they're ready. In the words of Ted DiBiase, everybody's got a price. Speaking of Ted DiBiase, one of the best storylines on NXT right now is the $1 million belt / DiBiase legacy of Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight. Great ladder match this past Sunday between Grimes and Knight. So many hard-hitting spots. night was a good booking decision to win, but Cameron definitely got over in a loss as the default babyface. Last, but certainly not least, if you all ever imagine, what if Stone Cold was the CEO of WWE? Just search YouTube, Stone Cold WWE CEO, and you will be treated to a hilarious bit of Monday Night Raw many years ago of good old Stone Cold running the offices his way. A good God Almighty. And good God Almighty, my favorite part of the segment was when Stone Cold ordered a delivery crew to decorate Vince's office with a full pile of smelly manure. I'll just read it like that. Yes, regards, DJ. P.S. Be on the lookout for a high energy voicemail, 2 of them, later in the show. So we'll combine your voicemails, DJ, and give you one full spot. But yes, and it actually happened in mid-June, I think this week in WWE. Back in 1999 is when this happened. So 22 years ago. Oh, God, aren't we getting old? Aren't we, DJ? My God. That happened when Stone Cold took over. And one of the funniest, and I think DJ and I were talking about this briefly on social media. Might have been Instagram or Twitter. I can't remember. By the way, follow me on Twitter at wrestling_audio if you're interested. We discussed this. And the funniest part of this to me was when Austin was in the building and he was changing the budget. He said Shane McMahon's salary is now the beer budget. He was telling people how to answer the phone. He was walking around basically in his wrestling attire with his like vest and like no shirt. The funniest part was when he got into the boardroom and he started handing out beers to everybody. And I think somebody said that they don't drink beer or something. And Austin told him, you're fired for looking stupid. Now get your ass out the door. I mean, how can you possibly just like get away with that? I mean, just imagine that, right? Like, I know it's fantasy. We're not watching something real, but it's so funny to think about. Like someone just saying, you're fired for looking stupid. Now get your ass out the door. There's just something so hilarious about that. And you know, if you haven't seen this, good grief, as in the words of Jim Ross, good God Almighty, go watch it. And I do direct you guys to clips on YouTube once in a while. Notice I say YouTube and not Peacock, because Peacock is an unmitigated disaster. But it's one of those you got to watch. I agree with DJ. Thank you, DJ, for your email, and we'll be looking forward to your voicemails in just a couple of minutes here. All right. I think it is that time. It is now that time to get to your voicemails and see what you guys have to say this week. So let's actually have, as I said, we don't have a whole bunch of voicemails. We do have a couple of repeat voicemails, so I'll combine them. And I think about like maybe 4 different individuals here for voicemails. But let's get to it in our very first voicemail of the night.
Hey, Matt, it's Kyle from New York again. So, couldn't think of much to ask tonight, so I'm going to ask one thing that I heard about, a rumor I heard about. So Eva Marie's coming back on Raw. And from what I've heard, well, I'm recording this voicemail like the week before she's coming back, so this might have already happened. Well, I'm about to ask might have already happened by the time you listen to this voicemail. But Eva Marie, there's a rumor that she might be getting like a bodyguard, almost like an Omos or like a Commander Aziz type thing. And there's a rumor that she might have either Piper Niven from NXT UK or Mercedes Martinez from NXT. What do you think about that? Honestly, if she's a good wrestler, I think she could be fine alone. Like, she doesn't need a bodyguard. If those video packages were training, she's really her getting better. She's a better wrestler now. I think she'd be just fine alone. So I don't know why they're doing it. You could just go for the women's title if she's good enough. Maybe it's like new blood to the Raw Women's title scene. I don't know. I just don't think she needs one. Also, like, I don't know. It's weird because Mercedes Martinez is having a match at NXT TakeOver in your house. So, like, it feels like basically watching NXT this week, she kind of turned babyface. So why would you turn her babyface, let her have a match at TakeOver, then 1 week later take her off NXT? It just seems weird that they would do that to Mercedes Martinez. Like, it feels like she's going to be in NXT longer. It just feels like she's going back to Raw anytime soon. After the whole Retribution thing. After Retribution, she won't be back to Raw anytime soon. So, and also, by the way, a simp is basically, like G-Man, I forgot who said it, my bad. I apologize whoever said it on the mailbag, I don't remember. But, he said a simp is an idiot. It kind of is, but it also, you're right, Matt, it is also kind of a sexual thing. Basically, it's someone who's an idiot, but like someone who like just does anything for a girl. Like if you hear someone say I simp for this girl, I mean like they do anything for them. That's kind of what a simp is pretty much. So yeah, it's basically a ladies man. Anyway, thanks as always, and I'll talk to you next week. Hey Matt, it's Kyle from New York, and I just finished a week in review episode, and Raw just ended. First of all, I listened to the week in review with the Casual Wrestling Fan, and shout out to him, by the way. He's very fun to listen to with you. You two make a great duo. And just to clarify, I'm not the Kyle who said Bianca Belair and Sasha were the same. That was the other one. Although I am a huge fan of Sasha Banks still, but yeah, that was the other Kyle. Sorry, my voice keeps cracking. I don't know why. But NXT, I don't know if you've heard, Matt. William Regal kind of hinted at the ending of NXT TakeOver in Your House that he might be stepping down as NXT GM. And there's a rumor going around that Samoa Joe signed a new contract and he's going back to NXT. And he's supposedly coming back as a non-wrestling role. So do you think he might be the new NXT GM? If he is, I'm fine with it, but I'd rather see him wrestle. But if he's the GM of NXT, I guess that's fine too. Also, about the week in review, to Casual Wrestling Fan, I agree with everything you said about Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. Like, I am a big fan of Rhea Ripley. I kind of want her to win at Hell in a Cell too. Charlotte is she's good, I think Rhea Ripley, they should just make her reign better and book her better. And then she can have a longer reign and everyone will be happy. Who shouldn't win though, however, at Hell in a Cell is Drew McIntyre. I feel the same way as everyone else. I love Drew. Drew McIntyre is awesome, but he needs to take a break for a while from the title picture till like next year in the Royal Rumble. Like WrestleMania season next year is when you can go back into it. Like after Hell in a Cell. Just stay away from it till then. Anyway, that's all I got this time. And I'll talk to you next week as always.
Hey, Kyle. Well, as promised, I'm combining voicemails that I know are from the same number. So thank you for the contributions. And it seems as if you are wherever you're getting your sources, I would keep getting your sources from there because you've been right on all accounts with the voicemails you sent me prior to the shows happening about Samoa Joe. And we're getting a bodyguard. So that, obviously you're all right. I'm not going to talk about that because we know you were right. Thank you for explaining what a simp is. Basically you do anything for a woman, right? Like whatever woman you're eyeballing, you just be like, I simp over her. So, okay, cool. Thank you for that simple explanation. Man, at 36 years old, I guess I'm not understanding what the kids are talking about today. I'm that old guy that when I was 20, I was talking about, the mid 30s guys that think they're so cool still. Well, now I'm that guy and I have no idea, right? I have no idea what the terminology and lingo is now, but thank you for the education. Maybe you guys, I'm relying on you guys to keep me up to date so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. So, I did not see the NXT other than, again, highlights. I did see the Samoa Joe segment, Karrion Kross, and we have Samoa Joe turning down the GM role that he was trying to inherit, or at least William Regal wanted him to inherit. So I think Joe is going to be a massive contributor in NXT. Do I think he's going to actually have a match? We'll see. I don't know if he's medically cleared. I'm sure that he wants to get back in the ring. I don't know. But I don't really... Again, I can't speak intelligently on where I think they're going to go with things there because I have somebody that is on our team that does that very brilliantly, Zach. So, Kyle, thank you for calling in. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for clearing up that it's not you. It's not this Kyle. It is the next Kyle that I'm going to bring on that is the one that is thinking Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair have very similar personalities. So let's, in fact, bring on that Kyle with his voicemail for the week. And actually, let me see if he has more than one. I'll do this right now. Let me see. We have, yes, indeed, Kyle does have 2 voicemails. So let's put them back to back and see what Kyle has to say for this week.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I wanted to talk about Alexa Bliss and her, role right now on Raw. I enjoy it. I know a lot of people are kind of sick of it. I want her to be in the feud, and I'm glad she is. It's going to hurt Shayna, but help Alexa. I think it's going to end up her winning the championship. I've been saying that for a while as well. So there's that about Alexa. Looking forward to seeing this feud with Shayna. As far as with Drew McIntyre, he needs to move on. The fact that Bobby Lashley is mentioning it in his promos is he's mentioning it in his promos proves that they see the steals on the wall with Drew McIntyre, and I think when fans come back, Drew McIntyre will get booed. So those are just my 2 quick things I wanted to say, but thanks for the call. Bye. Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I just decided to listen to your weekend review and talk about Alexa Bliss and her character. So that, yes, I think it's starting to get super repetitive, like everything else in WWE is getting repetitive. What Roman Reigns is doing is repetitive. What Alexa's doing is super repetitive. And I just think they're waiting until fans coming back for next month and having her winning the briefcase to do something different with that. I think just wait until that. I think, but it's still getting repetitive. She needs to wrestle and stop talking, stop doing all these magic tricks, because that's going to go away in July. So, and I'm thinking that's what they'll end up happening. They'll just wait until her to win Money in the Bank and her to face Rhea Ripley or whoever's going to be the champion at that time. Her dispute with Shayna, it's like, I guess it's helping Alexa and her and Shayna. Shayna, I don't really care much about it anyway. But I guess that's my thought. Is it starting to get really stupid and unnecessary at this point? Yeah. I sometimes do miss the goddess character that she was in 2017. That was the best Alexa, I feel. So I hope they could go back to that, but I think they just to keep this character. But that's my thought, is that they'll wait until fans come back to have her to see how fans react to her, I guess. But that's just my thought. Thanks for a call. Bye.
All right. Our other listener, Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland, his weekly voicemails. I'm just going to start doing that, guys, like combining voicemails. I think it's better. So I like your theory though about Alexa Bliss winning the Money in the Bank. I think she is probably, while we're not there yet, that's in July. I think that is going to be the winner of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Early call is Alexa Bliss. I think you're right. I think that they do envision her as champion. Like you said, the magic, the hocus pocus, the special effects are, we've had enough, and they acknowledge that by putting Lily in timeout, and hopefully, the garbage can, really. And that's fine. I'm glad they are listening to us. They don't always, but they did, kind of say, okay, guys, we get it. It sucked. Let's move on. That's essentially what they said. And I appreciate that stuff. That said, though, with Alexa Bliss, she does need more wrestling. She needs to get in the ring. She can do her occasional hocus pocus, the occasional non-selling of a move. But I think she's the one to capture the belt at possibly SummerSlam against Rhea Ripley or Charlotte. I think that's the way that they're going, notwithstanding the potential return of Becky Lynch. So see where things get a little bit more, a lot more interesting in a month or so when crowds are back. And like you said, they can't do this magic trick, community theater garbage when fans are there. You can't do all these tricks with, the camera tricks that they've been fortunate enough to be able to do when the fans aren't there, and they can just do whatever they like while fans are there, and they need to obviously change things up. So, yes, totally agree about your theory with Alexa, and they need to get her in the damn ring, right? Stop with the riddles, stop with the sitting on the swing set. Just get in there, cut promos, and fight. That's it. It really can be that simple. We understand like you're a troubled individual. The Fiend touched a dark part of you, and now that you are just that person, we get it. Okay, fine. Agreed. Thank you, Kyle. Let's move on here to our next voicemail.
Hey, it's the Waz. So here's my Carmella, Asuka, and Brooke. Those are the women. I know Asuka's shocking, but I'm tired of her. Just being honest. Out of the men, I would get rid of Shinsuke. I would get rid of course, my mind's going blank and I don't have it written down. The Mysterios. That's it. That's my guys. Those are the three there. Be gone. Cut them. You can bring Bray back later. Maybe send Dominic later back down to NXT. I don't know. Just thrown out there. My main point is I'm calling in again to say I think Drew.
Hey, Waz. Well, it sounds like you got a little bit cut off mid-thought, mid-sentence. So feel free to call back with what you think about Drew and Bobby, I'm guessing. But I'm going to assume that your statement would have been that we're all tired of Drew chasing the championship or wanting to be champion, and he needs to move the hell on. I'm going to summarize what I think you were going to say. But call in either way. Now, your picks about fantasy firing the Mysterios and Shinsuke. Shinsuke Nakamura I just spoke about earlier, about somebody else that had them on their list, and yeah, I could see that, sadly. And the Mysterios, though, I would feel no pain, no tears. I would sleep like a baby at night if they got rid of the Mysterios. I agree. Again, Rey Mysterio, legend. Much respect for the guy. But I don't need to see him and Dominic all but making out with one another about how strong they are as father and son, and what a bond, and what a great moment as tag team champion. Like, I don't care. I don't care. It's kind of stomach churningly lovey dovey garbage between a father and son. Like, and I'm a father, but to me, like, can we move on? It's getting kind of weird. And Dominic, good in the ring, but my God, is he boring on the microphone? That's just a fact. You don't pull any punches here, guys. He's good in the mic. Good in the ring. On the microphone, I mean, really, my 3-year-old son could cut a better promo than him. At least a more interesting one. So, Waz, please call back. Hope you're doing well, and let's keep the train moving.
Oh, hey, Matt. It's Bevan from Australia here, mate. Hey, just wanted to say thank you to Michael Ritter for his SmackDown reviews, because I don't get to watch SmackDown anymore due to changes in family dynamics and things happening on weekends. So I would think we should all just acknowledge him as the head of the table, the tribal chief of the SmackDown review. Does a great job. His reviews made me feel like I'd actually watched the show. So props to Michael. And while on SmackDown, just wanting to know your thoughts on Otis's change in character. It's no longer the luncheon carrying, ham eating, ice cream gobbling, I don't know, fat joke that was Vince McMahon's, I guess, creation. I kind of like where he's gone with it, even though he's got he shaved his beard off and he looks a bit more of a baby face. I love his aggression, and even the way he talks now, he doesn't come across as simple, or, he actually seems to have a bit more about him, which I like. But yeah, anyway, that's my 2 cents worth for this week, and I hope you guys are all well over there. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
All right, Bevan. Well, yeah, we can do a public acknowledgement of Michael Ritter's work here. I mean, he's not just the tribal chief of SmackDown in the review here, but you might as well just acknowledge him as the tribal chief of the WWE podcast. And we are subservient to him. Yes. So, certainly I don't want to get banished from the family here. So we acknowledge him here, publicly. So, Michael, shout out to you and your work, and thanks, Bevan, for the compliments. I will say that as far as Otis goes, Yeah, I haven't really discussed him a whole lot. I mean, it's funny, he shaved his beard and now he looks like a baby face. Like, not an act. No, I'm not talking like a wrestling, good guy or bad guy. I'm just saying he looks like a large baby with a face, like a smooth face. He looks like he has dropped like 30 years in age instantly. Some people just need beards. Maybe he can grow a stubble out nicely. And I don't need the Braun Strowman look in terms of beard length, but certainly something on his face would help. I know he's just trying to change things up, and I respect that. It just looks weird. So Otis, as much progress as they've made with Otis and his, taking him more seriously, not just the bumbling, fumbling, lovable big guy who shakes his bowl full of jelly. I could see them also using him in a skit on July 4th. WWE loves them some 4th of July food fights, don't they? I don't know if they did it last year. They might not have. But typically there's a food fight on 4th of July. So look out for that, as Otis will continue his food binging on 4th of July. But if there isn't one, I will be more than thrilled. But as far as Otis goes, I think that they are moving him in the right direction and not just looking at him as a comedy side act. So thank you, Bevan, for your input, and hope all's well with you too. So, okay, guys, a couple more. Mr. DJ is going to finish out the show. So let's see who is going to be the semi-main event. So let's find out who that is.
Hey, Matt, it's Brad from Pennsylvania. I had a couple things I wanted to get off my chest about, but usually what happens is I call you, and then by the time I get on the phone, I forget what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to either start writing down what I want to talk about, or maybe I'll do what the casual wrestling fan does and send you some emails once in a while too. That way I won't forget. But the one thing I'm going to concentrate on is the whole Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, Nikki Cross program. I absolutely hate it. Rhea Ripley is great in the ring. Charlotte Flair, great in the ring. Nikki Cross, great in the ring. The way they have all of them booked right now, with the exception of maybe Charlotte, I absolutely hate. Rhea Ripley, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Is she a heel? Is she a face? I mean, they should have brought her up as a strictly baby face. The same way she got over in NXT should be the way she's being used in Raw. Especially if you wanted to make her the champ within, a week of her arriving, I mean, they hyped her up for a few weeks with video packages, and then she was on the scene for like a week and she was the champ. I mean, you gotta book her better. I hate the way they booked Bianca Belair too, but I'm not gonna talk about that right now. Nikki Cross definitely deserves better than being a jobber who's getting wins. That's stupid. I hate it. And even Charlotte, I mean, the way they have her right now, it's like kind of annoying. Like, she loses, count out victory. It's just dumb. And the nosebleeds, I think, come from her probably having like 10 plastic surgeries on her nose. Probably bleeds real easy, because I actually had a nose injury when I was young, and if I rub my nose the wrong way, it'll bleed. So it's probably what it's from. But anyway, one last thing before my 3 minutes comes out. I was just wondering, do you think any of the guys that were in the Fatal 5-Way in NXT will be coming up? I mean, obviously O'Reilly won't. He was on last night, but I think maybe Cole will. I wish they would find a way to send up Karrion Kross. I think he would do great on the main roster, and I think they actually need him. But that's all I got for today, bud. I'll try to write some stuff down next time, because I definitely had some more stuff, but I also want to fit it in your 3 minutes. So take care, man. See ya.
Hey, Brad. Good to hear from you. I will say that as far as who I think is going to come up, I'll go in reverse of your questions. I would, now again, I'll say this again. I am as familiar with NXT as hearing the reviews from Zach and reading what's going on and keeping up with the stories and seeing highlights. I do not watch every show every second. That said, I think Adam Cole should come up. I think it's time for Adam Cole to come up. He has teased coming up. He was part of the Rumble, and made a big impact at the Rumble, and really also made, not this past year, but he made an impact at Survivor Series a couple years ago in NXT, beating down SmackDown and Raw, standing victorious. I think they were victorious at Survivor Series, although no one cared because it didn't go anywhere. But Cole has been ready for a while. And I think Karrion Kross is, from what I understand, he's not, I don't think he's quite ready to come up to the main roster yet. I think he has some more development to do. And that said, you can't just empty the roster on NXT to sacrifice that show to bring it up to the main roster. And you have to leave some talent there, and big talent. You can't just completely, drain the swamp, so to speak. So I think Cole would be a nice addition, and I think he's ready. Obviously, we already spoke about Finn Balor, and I think he's more than ready to come back. So those would be my two guys. Karrion Kross, probably not. O'Reilly, no, as you said too. So now, as far as the nosebleeds about Charlotte Flair, now here's the thing. I was looking at the Instagram feed between Andrade and Charlotte, which is all but basically a sex tape. I mean, that said, they're not explicitly sexual with one another, but they're just so sickeningly in love with each other. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, that said, Andrade came to the defense of Charlotte and said that, people talk about how she's had so much work to her body, all this kind of thing. He said that she's only had one surgery, and that's it, to enhance her body. We all know what that is. I mean, we all know the two things really that those are, right? We know that. So he's basically saying that nothing other than that was done. That came from an Instagram post from Andrade. I think it was like a month ago, maybe less. So check through that, because he actually said that. Now, do we believe that? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get into Charlotte Flair and how many surgeries I think she's had. And is that really any of my business? Probably not. Right. Like, I mean, if you were to ask her, I'm sure she would say that's none of your damn business, and rightfully so. I don't, it's like, but to your point, Brad, it very well could be, if she has had nose surgeries, a lot of them, it makes it more fragile. It makes sense. But if we take her at face value and say, no, she's never had a nose surgery, well, maybe it's just a recurring injury that just keeps getting aggravated. She's done it so many times, it's just easy to do now. And her body's like, it's not fully healed from whatever she's got going on there. That also could be the thing. But it seems like Charlotte Flair is constantly bleeding, doesn't it? It's always in the face. So thank you so much, Brad, for your input, and definitely look forward to hopefully a weekly voicemail from you. But okay, let's get to our main event here. Mr. DJ Kuzma with his two voicemails back to back.
WWE Podcast World, this is none other than DJ Kuzmo, back at it again on your Mailbag show. I had to take a hiatus last week just to get some things done and just to take a break. But now I'm back on the show, and this coming Sunday, we're going to be going to Hell in a Cell, or Hell at a Cell, or whatever this name is called. But before we get started, breaking news, I'm recording this on a Tuesday evening. And ladies and gentlemen, Samoa Joe is back. Samoa Joe is back. Samoa freaking Joe is back on NXT. And it seems like he is going to be the next general manager on NXT. I am surprised. But of course, there was a lot of news talking about Samoa Joe coming back. But man, oh man, Samoa Joe is back. And I'm happy to see him back on the Gold brand, NXT that is. And NXT right now, it's going to start to pick up. It's going to start to pick up with Samoa Joe taking the helms of being the next general manager. And man, oh man, this is going to be awesome. I just saw this face to face that he had with Karrion Kross. So man, I'm so excited that we're going to get to see Samoa Joe back on NXT. And man, I know, oh man, I can't contain myself right now. Samoa Joe is back. A lot of big things are going to be happening in NXT. So if you have not been watching NXT, shout out to Zachary Smith that covers NXT Review Show. This is a great opportunity to start watching NXT because a lot of big things are happening in this brand, as you could say, brand of NXT, because they focus on wrestling and awesome storylines and great matches. This past Sunday was great at the NXT TakeOver, and I'll talk to you once again. DJ Kuzma back at it again. Sorry about that, Matt. I just, when I saw that breaking news of Samoa Joe, I just had to put my 2 cents in one time. But now let's talk about Hell in a Cell. This coming Sunday, we should see the conclusion of this godforsaken rivalry between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. Can I get a hell yeah to all those listeners out there that want to see Drew McIntyre be leaving and be removed from this storyline after Hell in a Cell? And I want to see what's going to happen with Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. I'm still undecided who is going to win this match because, this is going to most likely inside of a cell. And, Hell in a Cell should be a very solid pay-per-view. We should see probably 1 or 2 title changes, but I really hope that Bobby Lashley retains and Drew McIntyre can go far, far away from the WWE title. And shout out to Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. I enjoyed that 2-hour weekend review that you guys had, and man, it felt like just 2 guys talking about wrestling, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope to see him back on the show again. And once again, Samoa Joe is back in NXT. And I will talk to y'all, but before I leave, I hope y'all have awesome Hell in a Cell this coming Sunday, and I will talk to you all next time.
Hey, DJ, so I'm confused. What happened in NXT? I don't understand. Like you weren't very clear in your message. So the next time, if you could just make sure that you are very to the point about what's going on in NXT, because I had to sift through and I had to get your message decoded. I had to talk to some people and really kind of brainstorm about, what were you trying to say? And we got to something about Samoa Joe. He's back on TNX or NXT. That's what it was. I'm just being a jerk. But thank you. Yeah, no, he is back. I'm excited that he's back. I think everybody that is a wrestling fan in general that watches the show is happy that he's back. The guy, when you see him cut a promo, you're like, oh my God, this is so much better than hearing him on commentary every week saying, give us a kiss. If I never hear him say that again in my life, it'll be too soon. So we can all say in unison, yes, we're happy about that for sure. As far as, Drew and Bobby, I will do what you asked, DJ. Oh, hell yeah. Right? DJ, that's what you get. And I think I can speak unanimously and speak for the people listening to this show, for the most part, that are just way over Drew in the title picture. If he wins the championship at Hell in a Cell, I think the internet may explode. I mean, Twitter may have a meltdown. Their servers could literally just burst into flames. There will be a revolt, and he will get immediately booed upon his return to fans. I think he would. And they are just, let's just be grateful. Drew should be grateful that this is not in front of actual people, because I think the fans would turn on Drew. They are more than done with this program. They're done with Drew in an 18-month journey in and out of the title, or I'm sorry, just consistently being in the title picture, holding the belt, chasing the belt, holding the belt, chasing the belt. We're done with it. We're done with it. So yes, hell yes, DJ. So, all right. Well, that is the conclusion for the week here for the mailbag. And I encourage you, everybody, hit us up on Twitter if you want to follow us at wrestling_audio, WWE_podcast on Instagram. You can also, of course, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/WWE podcast, because we have a special Discord server, a little VIP chat area where you can get in and join us for the live pay-per-view, and we'll be able to just chat and just BS about what's going on in the show. That's going to be a whole bunch of fun. So if you want to join us there and also get ad-free everything and shout out on the show and exclusive content, all for $1 a month. It starts at $1. You can even get exclusive merchandise, mugs and t-shirts if you are in the higher tiers. So there's a lot going on there, and we're going to continue to grow. So thank you to everybody who supports the show and continues to support the show. It is much appreciated. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It is the best way to help us. Thanks to everybody. As always, as DJ says, I'll talk to you next time.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am 1/3 of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.